Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Kris, and I'm your worship leader this morning. My pronouns are she and her. I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the weekly services of Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church. Come, let us worship together. Let us open our minds to the challenge of reason, open our hearts to the healing of love, open our lives to the calling of conscience, open our souls to the comfort of joy. Astonished by the miracle of life, grateful for the gift of fellowship, confident in the power of living faith, we are here, gathered. Come, let us worship together. Job Meiller is our special musician this morning. It's always a pleasure to have a fellow member here sharing their gifts with us. Later, we'll hear Better Days, an original piece by Job. But first, he's graciously agreed to cover a Meghan Trainor song that was requested by our speaker, Jennifer Bacmeister. I've been informed it's germane to the sermon, and it's titled, Like I'm Gonna Lose You. Job?
I find myself dreaming in silver and gold, like a scene from a movie that every broken heart knows. We're walking on moonlight, you pull me close. Split seconds you disappeared, and then I was all alone. I woke up in tears with you by my side, breath of relief, then I realized, no, we're not promised tomorrow. So I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna hold you like we're saying goodbye. Wherever we're standing, I won't take you for granted. We never know when we're run out of time. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. In the blink of an eye, a whisper of smoke, you could lose everything. The truth is you never know. So I kiss you longer, baby. Any chance that I get, make the most of my minutes, and I love with no regrets. Let's take our time, say what we want, use what we got before it's all gone. No, we're not promised tomorrow. So I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna hold you like we're saying goodbye. Wherever we're standing, I won't take you for granted. You never know when we're on out of time. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. So I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna hold you like we're saying goodbye. Wherever we're standing, I won't take you for granted. We never know when we'll run out of time. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you.
Thank you, Job. Good morning again. If you're here for the first time, we're so glad you found us. We hope you stay and enjoy refreshments after the service. If you are interested in Unitarian Universalism, we regularly offer Learn About UU classes. But please feel free to ask any member questions about BBUC. If they cannot answer you, I'm sure they can lead you to someone who can. We are a lay-led congregation that relies on its members to care and encourage each to participate in service to the community along their individual path to spiritual growth. We welcome all of you this morning, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Whether it's your first time in worship with us or your 100th time, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. Our principles and sources are printed on the back of the order of service. Unitarian Universalism is a faith based on covenant rather than creed. Our congregation's covenant can be found printed inside of the order of service. Let's recite it together. We covenant to engage one another with honesty, kindness, and respect, to value diversity, seek understanding of our differences, and practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. We make these promises to those who are here and those yet to come, so that we may be a safe, welcoming, and beloved community of acceptance, learning, and transformation. Will Adele DeSalvio please come forward to light the chalice for us this morning? If just for this hour, in this hour may we be open to a rededication of treasured friendships, a renewal of spirit. May we relinquish the worries and anxieties of the past week, if just for this hour, and regain our strength through this community of faith. Thank you, Adele. Please rise if you're willing and able for the singing of the call to worship. The words are printed in the order of service. Let's just all take a deep breath and relax for a meditation on courage and vulnerability by the Reverend Douglas Taylor. I am learning to let down my guard. We all know that the deep instinct to respond to difficulty and stress with either fight or flight, with force or a swift retreat with decisive attack or a prompt withdrawal. When faced with stress or difficulty or a challenge, I am learning to let down my guard. I am learning to be vulnerable. I am seeking the courage to be open. I would have my vulnerability be a choice made from my courage rather than my fear. I would have my vulnerability be my strength. May my strength be not found as a hard shell of defense or a sharp weapon of attack. May my strength instead be found in an open stance of kindness and empathy, like a tree bending gracefully in the windstorm. May my strength be found in a willingness to join in the suffering of others, like a forest of trees together in a storm. May I choose to be receptive rather than protected, sharing rather than shielded. In this way, may I face my own suffering and the suffering of others with a nimble capacity to respond with compassion. In this way, may my vulnerability be an invitation to others to meet me in the open field with a yearning for understanding and peace. I know this is a risk. I know I may be hurt. I know things may not go well, but still, I will seek the courage to set aside the closed fist, the stinging retort, the barbed judgment of others. I will seek within myself the strength to stand exposed and unguarded before the world, in the wind, open to difficulty, not because I cannot be any other way, but because I have chosen this better way. I am still learning to be vulnerable. I seek the courage to be so vulnerable. May I have others who can help me be so courageous. May my strength serve others as well as myself, and may my strength be our strength in sharing this life openly with others. And another deep breath. say in our church that the offering is a sacrament of the free church. What we mean is that we believe it is a blessing to be able to govern and support our religious community ourselves, to make possible by our generosity everything we dream of and do to live out our shared values. There are many ways to give, including using the QR code from the order of service. We also pass the plate in a weekly ritual that reminds us that we give with the faith that together we have enough. Today's offertory ushers are Marilyn Jones and Ted Clispy. The offering will be followed by hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. You may have heard this poem before. The first line seems very familiar. It was written in 1648 by Robert Herrick and is titled, Reading to the Virgins to Make Much of Time. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a-flyin', and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. The glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he's a-gettin', the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he's to setting. That age is best which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer, but being spent, the worst and worst times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, and while ye may, go marry, for having lost but once your prime, you may forever tarry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And one of my favorite parts of life is when someone shares something that they found inspirational with me. And it doesn't even matter what the inspiration is. I am not into country music. I had never heard of this person until she sent me this video. And literally, his name came up in a trivia thing. I was at the other, I was like, oh, I know who that is. Never heard of him until about a month ago. And it doesn't even matter what that inspiration is. Maybe it's something that pushes you closer to your faith or moves you to love or reveals some other kind of insight. It's that sharing and the connection that makes that inspiration powerful, even though it wasn't my inspiration. And it's almost contagious when you be around somebody who's excited about what they found. How great would the world be if we could all share the things that excite us with other people without that fear of judgment? It reminds me of something I saw on a compilation of the best of Twitter comments, because I spend way too much time on my phone looking at dumb things like compilation of Twitter comments. But someone said they were tired of asking people talking to people at parties, making small talk and asking them what they did for a living, and from now on, he was only going to ask people, what's your favorite dinosaur? Do you remember as a kid that you had a favorite dinosaur? Do you remember why you were passionate about why Stegosaurus was the best dinosaur? Or maybe it was your favorite Power Ranger. I remember my son was little, and he turned 35 last month. Green Power Ranger was his favorite, and I don't remember why green was favorite. He probably doesn't either, but he was about 4, and he'd defend green over any one of those Power Rangers like he was Clarence Darrow in court. And it's that in-the-moment experience that children are so good at, so passionate. It's all or nothing with those guys, and sometimes grown-ups too. It's the passion of youth. Of course, the kids don't have other things crowding their brains like adults do. They're not thinking about what to take out of the freezer for dinner tomorrow, or if the dog needs to go to the vet, or it's time to get the taxes done, which, by the way, it is because they're due tomorrow. It's that in-the-moment state of mind, that ability to live for right now that we're constantly, as adults, reminded to strive for, right? Carpe diem, gather rosebuds while ye may, and YOLO, for those of us who may not know, stands for you only live once. And carpe diem is actually a phrase from a poem that was written by Horace in 23 BC, where he's advising a friend to seize the day, as the future is not only unknown, but it is unknowable. As evidenced by this well-known phrase from ancient times, the occasional poem from the 1600s, The Advice to the Virgins, and an annoying aphorism from the 2010s, because that's actually when YOLO popped up, although it seems like much longer. We've been reminding ourselves for a very long time that life is both short and uncertain. And even today, through the relatively ephemeral medium of modern music, we continue to do so because apparently we just can't stay in a YOLO state of mind for very long. So why do we put off fishing with our dad? Why don't we ask the girl to marry us? Why don't we make time with granddad to fix that 65 Pontiac? The choices that we make that keep us from being fully present are partially the result of what I call caveman brain. My cave person ancestor likely would have cherished routine and lived for the familiar, because that which didn't kill her the first time was unlikely to kill her the second time. And I'm not the only one who attributes my daily choices in part to these ghosts of my ancestors. There's a video going around that features Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. He's delivering the commencement speech at Northwestern University. This speech is an amazing speech, and I encourage you, go Google it, listen to the whole speech in its entirety. I'm going to quote just a small part, and he's talking about how to spot an idiot. Great commencement speech. Advice that all graduates need, right? He says to look for the person who is cruel. And this is what he says in his speech. When we see someone who doesn't look like us, or sound like us, or act like us, or love like us, or live like us. The first thought that crosses almost everyone's brain is rooted in either fear or judgment or both. That's evolution. We survived as a species by being suspicious of things we aren't familiar with. In order to be kind, we have to shut down that animal instinct and force our brains to travel a different pathway. Empathy and compassion are evolved states of being. They require the mental capacity to step past our most primal urges. End quote. I suggest the reason sometimes our first thought is to put off fishing or proposing or fixing things with people that we love is that somewhere deep in our brain, it requires us to overcome that caveman thought, those primal urges that Governor Pritzker talks about. We have to put aside those thoughts and instead summon empathy and compassion. Empathy and compassion for ourselves to recognize that we need those kinds of connections, but also the same for the people we would invite. We have to overcome the fear, no matter how small it may be, that we are not as important to them as they are to us. The fear of rejection. Now let's add in, as modern humans, we are always calculating the opportunity costs of our decisions. And I don't believe anybody teaches us how to do this. It's part of growing up in the modern world. The conspicuous consumerism that is beat into us from when we are little children is always playing in the back of our minds. I can't go fishing today. I need to put in overtime and finish that report so I can get promoted. I'm not rich enough yet to get married, so I'll wait until I have enough, which we all know is a moving target. If I spend Sunday afternoon with Granddad this Sunday, I won't get the grass cut, the car needs the oil changed, taxes need to get done. And without much active thinking, we know the value of getting things done. We're programmed, even if subconsciously, to get ahead, to make and spend money, to constantly improve everything. All the busy work, all the things we do and use to identify our place in the social schema will always be there. You need to know if the laundry doesn't get done today, the housekeeping police will not come get you. However, it takes active thinking to recognize that our opportunities to spend time with our loved ones are really the limited resource. Humans have expiration dates, and unfortunately, they aren't stamped on our bottoms like cans of tuna fish. I was on active duty, my National Guard unit, at Fort Stewart, Georgia, on September 11th of 2001. We were working in the carpentry shop. We were building these great big wooden shipping crates that would hold the accessory parts that go on tanks, and the Army was shipping the tanks overseas. So we had to build the boxes and put the parts in, ship with the tanks. And I really enjoyed the work. It was the smell of fresh cut lumber, the physical effort of assembling and nailing the crates, then dragging them out to the parking lot where the crates were being staged for pickup later on. It was physically demanding work, very unlike the desk work that I did Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But I will never forget the part when Specialist Miles, who had a real knack for hanging out in the break room whenever there was real work to be done, he came out to the carpentry shop and he said, "You guys got to come see this." And 4 sweaty, sawdust-covered part-time soldiers watched the footage of the Twin Towers from New York broadcast from this tiny black and white TV sitting on top of this grimy fridge, and nothing was ever the same. Meghan Trainor's song that Job covered this morning, I love that. I think you did a better job than Meghan Trainor did. I like your version better. It's actually, if you hear the song, it's a duet with John Legend, and in the second verse, John sings, "In the blink of an eye, just a whisper of smoke. You could lose everything. The truth is you'll never know. So I'll kiss you longer, baby, any chance that I get. I'll make the most of the minutes and love with no regret. Let's take our time to say what we want. Use what we got before it's all gone. Because no, we're not promised tomorrow." And every time I hear those 2 lines, and I'm a big Meghan Trainor fan, so I hear the song a lot, in the blink of an eye, just a whisper of smoke. You could lose everything. The truth is you never know. Every time I hear that song and the first 2 lines of that verse, I think of 9/11. I think of the people who got on the subway to go to work, who dropped off their kids at school, who did everything the way they always did that morning. And my poor little cave person brain just cringes at the reality that the comfort of routine and engagement with the familiar does not protect us. The people who didn't go to the towers that day, who varied from their routine for whatever reason, are left to struggle with the what ifs. And my modern brain says, yeah, it was a terrorist attack on United States soil. How often does that ever happen? Is it going to ever happen again? What are the chances that I would lose somebody suddenly like that? It's not going to happen to me. Till it did. On August 17th, 2 years ago, I called my mom to wish her happy birthday. It was a run-of-the-mill Wednesday, and as usual, my dad answered the phone. Talked to my dad for a few minutes, and the last thing I said to him before he gave the phone to Mom was, "Love you, Dad," just what I always say. And 2 days later, he slipped on his boat dock, coming back in from fishing. He hit his head, and he drowned. So take that call from your mama and just talk away, because you'll never know how bad you wanna till you can't someday. Don't wait on tomorrow, because tomorrow may not show. Say your sorries, say I love yous, because man, you never know. And Cody Johnson sang it so well, but Benjamin Stennis and Matthew Rogers wrote those eloquent words. And as a musician, I want to give credit where credit is due. And what they wrote is true. It's so true. We all know it. Their anthem of "Don't Wait" is poignant. It's laden with the emotional vignettes that many of us has experienced in one form or another. But on top of the focus of the ephemeral and fickle nature of time, there's a second message, if you can find it. And to me, it's the most important part. Here's part of Cody's chorus. If you're going to love someone, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can till you can't. Here's the first 2 lines of the chorus from Megan's song. So I'm going to love you like I'm going to lose you. I'm going to hold you like I'm saying goodbye. Can you hear what they're actually singing about? It's love. It's love. And love, for us, it's ingrained in our faith. We stand on the side of love. We practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. To me, love is that bedrock holding up everything else we do. And I'm going to make the argument that we actually have love as one of our 6 sources. You can go look at the program if you want, but you won't find it because it's not. Jewish and Christian teachings was called us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Now, that's too easy. The source I'm referring to doesn't even have the word love in it. It's this one, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. And that sounds like love to me. You have direct experience. Love's a verb. You have to participate. Reading poems and watching videos are not direct experiences unless you're doing them with the person that you love. That's different. You have to go fix the car. You have to go make the friend. It's affirmed in all cultures. I am not a world traveler, but everywhere I have been, people want the same things for themselves and their loved ones: safety, good health, prosperous futures. Now, these things may look different to us about what safety or a prosperous future looks like, depending on who we're looking at and who we are, but the motivation, the love, is the same. It moves us to a renewal of spirit. Do you recognize how you feel after you spend time with your loved ones versus how you feel when you get home from work? Unless you love your work, and then that's a trick question, sorry. The giving and receiving of love is a spiritual feast. It's nourishment for your heart. And the last part of that source, openness to the forces which create and uphold life. There's the kicker. It's an openness. That's a choice. You have to decide that you're comfortable, that you're going to be open. Instead of looking away, staying in your rut of routine, of busyness, you have to choose to extend yourself into a life of love. You have to decide to pick up that phone and overcome that deep subliminal reflex to stay safe. Now, I will admit, I have always felt a strong connection to our principle of interconnectedness. It's hard not to see because I see it everywhere. Even the inspiration for this sermon, I am not a fan of country music, but the words of Til You Can't spoke to me. And if I didn't know Gay and the folks at the church in Palatka, maybe I wouldn't have received this inspiration. And despite this, despite seeing interconnectedness everywhere, the more I write and the more I experience and the more I read about Unitarian Universalism, the more I feel we can sum up our faith in one word: love. We use the phrase deeds, not creeds, a lot. It's a great shorthand to explain to non-UUs what our faith looks like. We pride ourselves on taking action, on making conscious decisions, to engage in pursuits that make the world a better place, especially for those with fewer advantages than we ourselves have. We love to set big goals, look at big pictures, and dream of that bright tomorrow. But the rubber meets the road in the doing. And the good news is, the best news is, you don't have to move mountains or feed thousands or put out a forest fire. I mean, if you can, please do. You'll find lots of other people to help you. But the doing, the loving, it's right in front of you. It's in the everyday choice to be present, to do today what you will regret not doing if tomorrow is very different. So for people not into pop music like Meghan Trainor songs or country songs or really old poetry or getting YOLO tattoos, some very wise folks wrote it into our sources. Being a UU will make you better at seizing the day. Although I strongly encourage you to continue taking advice from relevant current entertainment, because if you're like me, you'll take all the help you can get. Every reminder is a blessing. At the end of the day, work and chores, chasing the dollar might be how we make a living, but it's not how we are meant to be alive. Your value is not granted by those external forces based on the amount of your physical labor or your revenue production. Your value is your inherent worth. I think we all know that. Even if any given moment you are not able to give love, you're always worthy of love. Every poet, every songwriter, every philosopher knows this, even if subconsciously. And they write what they feel deep in their hearts. And those are the words we read and hear that touch our hearts. Those are the words that move us to love and move us to do it now. We don't need to be reminded of the fleeting nature of time. We need to be reminded of the power of transcendent love. We need to be reminded to foster and cherish and revel in the love that's already in our lives. We need to be reminded to engage one another with love, in love, for love, till we can't. If we can remember, then we will not regret when the time passes. So carpe diem, my friends, for tempus fugit, amor manet. Latin for time flies, but love endures. Thank you.
I'd like to ask the song leaders to come to the dais as we rise in body or spirit to sing the closing hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Will Adele please return to extinguish the chalice? As we conclude today's service, I'll leave you with these words by Philip Randall Giles. Now, may our wisdom show itself in compassion and understanding, and may the fruits of the Spirit be apparent in our lives. May the quality of our lives be our benediction and a blessing to all whom we touch. Until we come together again, I bid you peace. Amen, namaste, and blessed be.